Welcome. We are continuing our initiation for having proper evaluation of the judicial organ of state of Haryana, the functional reality of the judiciary in state of Haryana is to be chased along a timeline of 54 years from 1st November 1966 till date. We have seen in the previous session that there are more than one component of the judicial apparatus. Judicial officers is only one such component, though core of the system. Now, today, we will be focusing upon how this system is updating itself and how much is the need for the system to update itself. Each component and each functional authority of each component of this apparatus deserves to update one's knowledge as the law is progressing exponentially, and there are other many factors which are responsible for transformation of the system. Now, in this context, it is pointed that we are having a judicial academy. The Judicial Academy, Haryana State Judicial Academy, is the first basic institutional setup which is entrusted the responsibility of this updating exercise. However, when we will analyze the functional reality reach of this academy, then we will be face to face with the new challenges which this institution itself has to accept. This institution deserves to be transformed, and this institution also is to update itself so that its responsibilities sphere is parallel with the need of the judicial system itself. The entire judicial apparatus as such is to be covered by this academy for having update of potentialities of each component of the judicial system. My initial suggestion is that this academy be given the status of a deemed university. The need for updating this institution, Haryana Judicial Academy, to be of the status of deemed university is necessary as the academic growth is to be only in the university institution. Once it will be a university, then naturally it will be of the update academic standards and values. Once the Judicial Academy will be of update values, then and only then we can expect that this institution will discharge its responsibility to update each component of the judicial apparatus, of update values, expectations of the ideals of the Constitution of India. In this context, one feature which can be specifically pointed is that the court languages are Hindi and English. However, there is eccentric imbalance in Hindi and English. The witnesses' languages is Hindi or some other adopted version of Hindi. The court language is Hindi and English. However, for some reasons, this has been taken for granted as if the entire court proceedings, including the judgments, are to be in English only. Now, to have a proper balance between Hindi and English and to have proper education and training for the components as lawyers and others to be well acquainted with both languages is a challenge. It is this challenge which is to be accepted by this academy. So this academy is to charter out certain programs, certain examinations, certain degrees, and other training programs so that the both court languages, Hindi as well as English, have their constitutional role. Unless and until we give proper attention to it, in the coming times, there is going to come a great challenge. And this challenge is to have an effect upon the judicial outcome. Therefore, the academy is to be given a status of deemed university. That in a way can be said that academy is to update itself, and then the academy is to take the responsibility of updating each and every component. And one of the pointed programs which this deemed university shall undertake is to see that there remains no imbalance between Hindi and English as court languages. It is in this context we have to be well aware that evidence is to be recorded in the language of the witness with translation in the language of the court. It in itself is a real challenge. The real efficiency test, index value of this test is to be the success with which the language of the witness becomes the source evidence record, and then its translation in the court language is a secondary material. So primary evidence record is to be in language of the witness, but in practice the things are not as ideal as are the ideals of the court manuals. Now, this aspect amounts to putting up as that there is to be updating exercise in the form of the manuals and rules and orders. So manuals of the rules and orders, which are traditionally, conventionally, classically, and in orthodox manner, are being taken as these were originally drafted, that too in a foreign language, English. However, the appropriate attention is not there with respect to their translation in Hindi, which is a court language. Therefore, this exercise of updating manuals and rules and orders, as well as forms and performance, is the basic necessity. It is the essential step. Unless and until we are updated with this essential step, we will not be living in a realistic framework. The state of Haryana, because of the historic reasons, firstly, as a part of the composite Punjab, where Urdu and Punjabi were dominant languages. The bifurcation of the composite Punjab into Punjab and Haryana, with Haryana having a focus upon Hindi and Sanskrit, there has occurred an imbalance. However, it appears that over this period of timeline of 54 years, state of Haryana and the academy as such have not come up to the expectations of the challenge. This challenge is to be accepted. This challenge is to be met. This challenge, unless and until is met appropriately, we will not be in a position to say that our judicial system in state of Haryana is as per the expectations and ideals of the Constitution of India. The other aspect which is of utmost importance these days, and the same is the need for transformation of the manual steps procedure to the electronic steps procedure. Our old orthodox, classical, conventional system of having functional updating by manual steps stands becoming outdated. This outdated steps, manual steps, as such, deserve to be updated. From outdated steps to updated steps is the real challenge. And in fact, the very purpose of our visiting the judicial organ of state of Haryana is to see what is to be done, what steps shall be taken, how we shall proceed further, so that the outdated steps get properly replaced by updated steps. Now, for it, big transformation would be required, and this transformation in one way can be said as a catchword that we have to go electronic. It is this feature which will ultimately again take us to the responsibilities of the Judicial Academy. So Judicial Academy is to update itself and to become a deemed university. And then the deemed university shall undertake proper projects, proper programs, proper academic courses, proper practical training courses for the different components of the judicial organ, and to make Haryana as a modern setup. The step ahead, the aspect which we shall have attention is of data managers. Let us have a visit to the way liars' offices are being managed. The liars' clerks are normally of matriculation level of education standards and otherwise economically and the service conditions wise as well. It is this functional apparatus which is really not worthy of being said as appropriately recognized institution. The role, contribution, and other assistance level steps on the part of the clerks of the offices of the liars are really in very, very neglected shape. Some steps need be taken and they have to be made as data managers. It is really a very, very, very challenging step, and many, many ways have to be found. State has to intervene. Some economic and other assistance deserves to flow from the state exchequer for updating this institution. The bar councils and other organizations as well have to rethink and to revisit it. And it is only in terms of it we will be having a fresh, enthusiastic, blissful start for updating and modernization of our justice delivery system, and the same, the degree of our consciousness, degree of our attention, degree of our seriousness will be reflected only the way we are recognizing this plight of this institution. And then we have to see that the efficiency of the liar as officers of the court is to ultimately reflect upon the degree of the justice flowing through this justice delivery system. Now, let me give an illustration in terms of 5 words in English and in Hindi thereof. I have chosen these 5 words from Indian Contract Act. The term contract in English is sanvida. The term agreement in English is karar. Term proposal in English is prasthapna in Hindi. Term acceptance is pratigrahan. Revocation of proposal is pratisaharan, and part is pakshkar. Now see, when court language is English, and once we are trained for this vocabulary, then certainly we will be having appropriate state of mind to absorb their meanings and to lead at logic for their interpretation and implications. Now, when Hindi is the court language, then sanvida, karar, prasthapna, pratigrahan, pratisaharan, pakshkar will become our vocabulary. Our mental state will be to absorb the meanings of these words. However, when there is a bilingual setup of English and Hindi, and one will be speaking contract, and another will be speaking sanvida, one will be speaking agreement, other will be speaking karar, one will be speaking proposal, another will be speaking prasthapna, one will be speaking acceptance, other will be speaking pratigrahan, one will be speaking revocation of proposal, other will be speaking pratisaharan of prasthapna. Then how there shall be proper pedestal for both persons. So to have a proper bridging for this pair of languages, distinct technical, technological terms. So again, it takes us back to updating. And this responsibility is to begin from the law education itself. And then it will take us up till our issuance of licenses for practice and service selection codes to discharge the responsibilities. And then updating will be required, and same naturally as institutional setup is to be there, and the same can be expected as that we are having a judicial academy. Let us revisit the judicial functional setup of state of Haryana over the timeline of 54 years, and let us come to our conclusions as to where we are, where we have to reach, and how we can reach up till that projections of ours. Thank you very much.
Sir, I have a small submission, sir.
Please.
Sir, in my view, I think I will just go by what you advise. Sir, for us, more important is that what is relevant to us as a citizen or as a lawyer. Sir, in my opinion, getting into history of 54 years of Judicial Academy, and then highlighting those abnormalities which are happening in our system as of now, either we need to make a representation to Law Commission regarding these abnormalities, or maybe forming a Judicial Academy, or maybe All India Judicial Services, like for our day-to-day learning, and what are we are practicing, what are we are undergoing. That aspect, I think, should be taken on as a first chapter, and maybe at a later stage we can come into this. So my only request is that we are facing a lot of problems with respect to litigations on a day-to-day basis, where things are not happening the way it actually should happen. So in that aspect, where we can contribute, of course, from education point of view, for enhancing our knowledge, all these aspects are very, very essential, and we must understand. But I think we have gone, our system has gone wrong, and system has got rotten in these 54 years. Not only in Haryana. Haryana is still, I feel, is far superior than what we have in other states. But as a citizen of India, when we refer to the overall prospect of judiciary, Haryana, I think, will be a number 2 or number 3 or maximum number 5 all India, all across the country. But system as such has become absolutely rotten. But here for us, within a limited time, whatever half an hour is available to us, and as far as how can we change ourselves with respect to what best we can do as a very limited with very limited resources, or very limited knowledge. Maybe like we started, what are our fundamental rights as a constitution, or what important sections we have in IPC. Maybe we can discuss some very important and essential judgments which can enhance our knowledge. In my opinion, sir, those aspects I think should be much more relevant to us at this stage, rather than getting into 54 years of history of Haryana judiciary, and there should be a deemed university. I agree, these are very important, very essential, and we must think and put an effort towards that. But that right forum will be, rather than discussing within ourselves, we should make a presentation to Law Commission or to Finance Minister or to Law Minister or to Chief Justice of India or whatever relevant forms are. So discussing these things within this group, I think should be secondary. But the initial should be to enhance our knowledge, what is available with us. Maybe all we should take on the most important judgments on let us say one topic. Let us say on murder or on robbery or on kidnapping. So there are 3-4 judgments, and we can study those judgments and enhance and upgrade ourselves, because these things are not going to be used for us in the court. Like for example, 54 years journey of judiciary, we will not use that in our daily activities, daily routine. This is what my humble submission and input. Probably I may be wrong, but my view, sir, is that focus should be on what we can get now and what we can implement right away, because time is a resource, and we have a very limited time. Half an hour is too small a time, and subjects are far bigger than what we are discussing. So my humble submission is that rest whatever you suggest, I will absolutely go by.
You see, you have well pointed that there is a disease. You have well pointed that patient is to go to hospital. You have well pointed that individual patient shall have direct treatment of his disease in the hospital. However, you have to know the hospital. You have to know the disease. You have to be cautious enough to see that you reach the proper hospital, you are before the proper doctor, you are given a proper attention, and your treatment is on proper form. So we who are users of hospitals have to know ourselves as well as the hospitals, and only then we can expect that we will have a direct, without wastage of time or without diversion, a treatment for us. So here now we have to devote some time to explore the state of the hospital and our own state as well. It is only thereafter that we can have a complete match of our ideals. So having knowledge, having a comprehensive view, having a complete realistic picture, it is only thereafter we can expect a particular degree of the treatment. Therefore, this exercise, which is having a comprehensive view where we are, how much we know, how much is the dust underneath the carpet. So I think the real objective is to have proper utilization from the realistic utility point of view, but for that as well, we have to devote. So if we want to protect a crop, then to have a boundary wall for a house is also not a wasteful expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.